I am a disciple. I've been there since almost the inception.
Guide I. It's the voice that sets me free.
I just you me tune into because, me always even watch some other television and stuff, and that's a festival for later. I have to really listen to you first, you know what I mean?
How ma one you get one ma chikumbachna Africa da fabachna kida farafet one ma chikibunju kida fabunju one ya dekesa wai kida fabunju one ma chikibunju kida fabunju dafnin rafet yo wenta menda ingama dafnin rafet yo wenta menda ingara dafnin rafet yo wenta menda ingara did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know that's a richer Africa? Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Did you know? Said the whole world love it. Be proud of your culture. Be proud of that what you got. Be proud.
Jambo, vipi, karibuni katika kipindi cha Doc. I am Black. Kipindi chaitwa Metamorphosis. Jifundishe, elimika na muelimike.
Fire outrage, burn down Babylon and all them crooked ways and racial discrimination, discommunication, brutalization. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Rastafari, sit upon his throne now. Rastafari, sit upon his throne, yeah. Rastafari, sit upon his throne now, telling us to come home.
He goes away from Africa with the intention to steal our culture. That's good for the past by instead. Humble yourself, my children. Humble yourself, my little ones. Humble yourself. Oh, my brother,
fussing and fighting amongst ourselves on this big plantation.
Nothing to achieve this way. It's worse than the last day. Get up and fight for your rights, my brother. Get up and fight for your rights, my sister. Took us away from civilization, brought us to slave in this big plantation, fussing and fighting among ourselves. Nothing to achieve this way. It's worse than the last day. Get up and fight for your rights, my brother. Get up and fight for your rights, my sister. Get up and fight for your rights.
Dinastilin. Greetings, Eli, Rastafari. Hail all ones and ones listening into Size FM, locked into Metamorphosis, listening to your host, Dr. Iman Black, steer you through the proceedings, stages and changes. The plantation has exploded, as it does so often, and now the fight amongst ourselves has gone into the realm of entertainment and church. This program is going to deal with two specific themes. One is religion, and the other one is sports. And perhaps by the end of the program, we may be finding it difficult to find the difference between these two fields. But I want to just remind my listeners how is it we got here as a people in this section of the world's hemisphere. And the plantation concept remains in operation as it was from the 1700s, set up by Europeans, Spain and England. And the plantation structure holds within it a built-in injustice, because the plantation structure functions with one group claiming superiority over the other group. And the group that is in the inferior position is usually put to the level of slaves or workers. So we're looking at a structure that still exists, a plantation society, where culture is alien and imposed an indigenous culture. And by indigenous culture, I mean the ancient, traditional African, Indian cultures, Taino cultures that were here before the British and the Spanish came. Now, this plantation structure has an economic engine to produce resources, and the plantation is to produce ultimately money. And money is the basis of much power. So the whole idea is about manufacturing and creating through cheap labor, or no labor, no cost of labor at all, slavery. So there's a society here that have a legacy grounded in colonialism and racism. So the plantation was a site of exploitation in its original format, with Africans in chattel and Africans being reduced to the definition of animal. African equal pig, African equal goat. So the reduction of personality and consciousness really get a beating, literally whitewashed So the plantation continues to produce resources in the sense of Jamaica's agricultural products, sugar in particular, bauxite as a mining enterprise. So I'm just saying these things to show the item now, because we're going to talk about sports, we're going to talk about religion, but it has to be within a context of how I and I know ourselves and our journey as African people in the Western world. So we know about the brutality and the genocide that was dished out to black people in this part, and I and I survive. Many survive while I and I is here to speak. Many remove themselves because they're unwilling to be part of this exploitation. Those who are unwilling to remove themselves clung on to a thing called hope, that one day I and I would resurrect ourselves out of this condition. And the journey has been long, and the work has been going on from the days of Toussaint Louverture and before, of the black man attempting to reconstruct his identity and his sense of value, self-esteem, self-respect, self-awareness, all the various things that were forcibly removed from the black man in that journey through the Atlantic Ocean and into the plantation society. So we see a society that is dealing with forced labor and extraction, extracting the sugar cane, extracting the labor of African men, women, and children. And when they couldn't go any further, and they could have made some of those products, particularly sugar, in Europe, beet sugar, they no longer needed Africans as chattel labor. And between that and the introduction of mechanical ways of cutting sugar cane and cutting cotton, there was a serious reduction in the need now for black labor power. Physical labor power wasn't really at a premium anymore because the economic ways of production, the mode of production had changed. Mechanization, the way it has changed from that now to computer. And within the computer age, a lot of people are become made redundant and unemployable. So the same thing happening in that traditional era of plantation slavery. The technology change, and black people now become redundant. So what do you do with the redundant population of Africans in the Western world? First you have to do is free yourself from being responsible for them. So they gave us the emancipation, and that freed the white man from all moral responsibilities. It freed him morally from being responsible, which is why today him can say, let us move on, because he has no moral regret, and therefore he owes no reparations, because he emancipated himself. But we misread it because of our lack of intelligence to understand the Mandem language. We think it's something that free we. So the illusion begins there. Their economics and misunderstanding of the English language. We think emancipation means the Africans become free. Emancipation meant the Europeans free themselves psychologically from the burden of the brutality that them commit. But what do you do with all of these energies that used to cut sugar cane and provide physical labor? What do you do with these people now if you turn them loose? Well, institutions were created on the plantation, and institutions run all societies. And the two major institutions that run this plantation was the church and what you call the state, the government. And these two institutions now have been at the front of the control of the African population on this island. And perhaps in other places, the church and the state. And when you begin to examine now them independently, you realize that one has far more power than the other. And the ultimate power in the plantation rests in the church. Because the church now, is the body that is telling the plantation and the slave that they have a connection now to the Almighty. And it's through them now that the slaves can find redemption, and through the teachings of the words that come out of the Bible. So we see now that the plantation have these institutions that are going to absorb black man energies. Yeah, the former slaves now. The society is going to create institutions that will absorb black man energy. So when you look into the state, which is a government, black man never have no role in no politics in Jamaica. When you look in the economics, slaves and descendants don't have no input there. You look at the economics, you look at the education, you look at the military, you look at all the various institutions that a society should function with, and you find that the plantation never had any space for those black people to enter those things. So what do you think them generate as to major institutions? They maintain religion as a major source of occupy black man energy. And they also expend themselves in opening up entertainment. So these two arenas now, entertainment and religion, from the days of emancipation till now, has been the two main areas that black people have had their energies channeled into religion and entertainment. So we're going to make that link as we talk about the World Cup as one of the greatest stages for entertainment in the world. I want to also look at the fact that the cascades between the entertainer Vegas and the religious preacher Jennings have brought it clear to Iman that the greatest dysfunction amongst black people is the Bible. And that entertainment and religion have now merged. That for the first time I was able to witness a clash. And the clash is all about interpretation now of this book that is established as a good book. And it caused more confusion than bringing in any intelligence to the people. So, Metamorphosis want to look at how religion and sports, how they interact, how they intersect. And what is it that black people need to do when you realize how much of our energies have been locked into entertainment and religion? And how little bit of our energies are into the dimension of science, and technology, and economics, and manufacturing. But much of it is into the debate, as they call it, about who understands the scriptures and who is most expert at interpreting the words of God. And that is where now much of black people's energy seems to have been captured. And everybody gets excited because this book is captivating. And it has captured the imagination of black people. And it really is a problematic because African history is not recorded in that book. And yet people who look like Africans claim that this book is their history book. So what we see even come out now in this clash in the religion and entertainment is that we have a problem with the people who are Negroes. Is the Negroes causing the problem in the race of black people? Because it is the Negroes who are claiming to be the most righteous Christians and who have the better knowledge to interpret. So we're going to look into the connections between the world of sport, the power of sports, the power of religion, and does God have a role to play in sports? Does God back a team when the team lose? Metamorphosis.
Do you have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
My God.
Yes, that's right. The bus ram, because we're all headed to Fan Fusion. But now while tickets are available, St. Thomas peeps, we have transportation for you. The bus leaves from Morant Bay to Portland. It's only $2,000 inclusive of tickets per person. Pick up your phone and call 356-7491. Let me repeat, 356-7491. Mommy, you never catch it? Let me repeat the third time. 356-7491 to book now. Call between 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. or you can book at Munch's Snack Shop at Duckenfield Primary School Gate. Nobody will be left behind. Fan Fusion, here we come.
Customers of Knutsford Express will now be able to travel directly from Portland to Kingston via Junction with a rest stop at Paul Wells Gas Station in Otter Bay. Services include 2 departures, Mondays to Saturdays, and 1 departure on Sundays. Ticket prices are as low as $1,850. Early morning services will also be offered to cater to passengers with flight arrangements, meetings, embassy appointments, or just to conduct general businesses. Travel with ease and in comfort. The Knutsford Express. Leave the driving to us.
This feeling is taking over me. I'm so excited.
What? Feel the euphoria.
Tuesdays from 5 to 9 p.m. with the Master Mixer Musical Maestro Digital Team.
Giving a total satisfaction with melodies and memories by the score. With the widest selection of genres and hits. So you don't know that program you turn up, you know. So you know Patek's a full dance, the one you want to slap with.
Digital and we are party. Yeah, we flawless. Euphoria the program. Every Tuesday.
5 to 9. Every Tuesday.
With the Musical Maestro Digital Team. For the best quality in sound reinforcement and backlining, Native Audio. We have professional engineers with over 20 years of experience. So call us and we'll take care of your parties, wedding receptions, barbecues, conferences, and small stage shows. Crystal clear sound, Native Audio. Our prices are the best. Call us at 871-5212. That's 871-5212. Native Audio. We make your events audible.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Black. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill. They offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Shall not enter. These are
Yes, the metamorphosis is here. Dr. Iman Black here, looking at an event that is going to unfold on the world in the next 2 weeks. No, next 10 days. And whether you have an interest in this event or not, it's going to be happening. And it's a world event. It's called the World Cup. So this section now, the program tonight, we'll give the first 90 minutes to football and we'll give the final hour and a half to religion and the connections between those two regions of our existence. So the World Cup is on the horizon. The World Cup of football. And even the language has become something we have to examine because see, I and I is not English speakers. Naturally. English is a language that has to be learned. And being a person who has gone through the education system, both as a student and as a deliverer of education, I know that across this island of Jamaica, the vast proportion, percentage-wise, of the country do not understand the language. Do not understand it. They do not understand the parts of the language. They do not understand how the parts of the language connect. They don't understand tenses, a whole heap of things within the language that makes it very complex. So there's a shortage of knowledgeable people on this island who understand the language over as English. And to know when the meaning is, what is the implication of the statement that was made, and what is the real meaning, whether it is literally or it's figurative. It's a whole heap of complications to the language. And so because of these complications, not many people in Jamaica can tell you what the Bible really say. I tell you that. They can't tell you what it say or what it really means. So they come up with what they call their own interpretation. You imagine that? So 15 people read one line and 15 people have 15 different interpretations. Is a height of confusion that. And then you call a book of that nature a good book. It is good for confusion. And you recognize why the people as Africans are so confused. Because they have embraced the words without understanding the language. That English is used in literal forms, and English is used in metaphorical. English is used as similes. English is used where people speak in fables, and they speak in parables. So when we have some half-literate people becoming pastors, half-literate, no formal training in the language, and telling you about them talking to you through the spirit. So through that, them can't say anything because it's through the spirit, and them can't say the spirit, and a whole lot more confusion. So, the world of football is a site where we can test certain systems of God operation within the world of activities that men are conducting. So, the sporting world has been controlled at the performance level by black people. Any sport you introduce us to, we master it. Any sport. So there's a demonstration through sport of ability to show high performance levels, technically, tactically, applying theory, strength and speed and power. All of these variables come together for dominance in sport. So at the end of the emancipation period now, when black people couldn't find no employment because the system wasn't set up to employ black people and pay a meaningful wage. The system rather bring in Chinese and Indians as indentured servants and give them a quality of life because it burned the plantation owners to make black people begin to think that they could be people again. So this area called sport, entertainment, was literally manipulated and controlled by black people. We channel our energies there, and the white man felt safe because in entertainment and religion, these energies don't challenge the status quo. And so the white man and the superstructure remains comfortable as long as we burn our energies in religion and entertainment. And we have been burning that energy hard, and earning big money that is small relative to those who are creating the product. So this world event involves 32 nations, 11 cities it will be conducted in. It's about the world witnessing a war organized on a play field with officials to arbitrate the various decisions that have to be made. It's attack versus defense. It's counter-attack. It's war. And so this competition here now is happening in a place called Russia. So this series is really called To Russia with Love. And within these few, this reason and the one to come in the next program, when I just introduce the World Cup to the listeners from a perspective that is African-centered, Rastafari-driven, and located from the Caribbean. That is the perspective. This World Cup will reveal unto us issues that have to do with race, that have to do with culture, psychology, religion, because there are Muslim teams in the tournament, teams from Northern Africa. So how does it play out when they take time out to give respect to Allah? Will Allah be on their side when the next team take time out to give praises to Jehovah? So the world of sport always forces one-on-one to examine a little bit closer this thing that they give us called religion. And how come it don't apply and work in all spheres of man's activities? Why it's so selective? So this World Cup that is coming up, there's a power that rules the world in football. It's called FIFA, International Federation of Football Associations. And this organization has organized the world football and separated up the globe in what they call political constituencies. 6 of them. 6 political confederations. And from those 6 confederations, FIFA stays in its headquarters in Europe and controls the world. FIFA demonstrating the powers of government. FIFA is the largest government in the world. Over 200 nations belong to FIFA, more than the United Nations, more than the World Health Organization, more than the WTO. FIFA is a world government with its statutes and its limitations and its government, its elections. It is such a powerful governing body that civil society and civil courts can't interfere with FIFA's business. You can't take FIFA to court because the court exists outside of FIFA's autonomy. So one of the items is a world government, FIFA, because football is the most widely played and the most widely watched game in the world. So the whole world focusing on Russia, starting June 14. And for 1 month, the battle is on. They have organized the 32 teams into 8 groups of 4. And it's the top 2 in each team advance to the real competition, which is a 16, group of 16. And we have to recognize now that the level of money invested is in the multi-billion dollar. Because television, transportation, accommodations, all of these come together to generate this multi-billion-dollar event called the World Cup. Now, it's interesting to observe the role of Africans in this tournament that has been invented from 1930. What have been the role of Africans in the World Cup? And we recognize again now that we're coming out of a plantation society that has been emancipated. Europeans emancipate themselves. And the only way Africans could find a way to express themselves was really through sports. So in North America now, Jack Johnson emerged as the world heavyweight champion, first black heavyweight champion. And to show you how the world is connected through sports and politics. Now, Jack Johnson, mighty African, American, heavyweight champion of the world, shake up the status quo, overthrowing the mythology of white supremacy at the physical level. And white man get beat up. And Jack Johnson not only beat up the white man, he took on his girls. And nothing grieved the white man more than when him say black man with white women. And it grieved enough conscious black man when him say black man with white women. And Jack Johnson would have terrorized white people with his behavior. And eventually him found a way to arrest him. Trump up charges. And put away the world champion. This is in the early 1900s. And would you know that the President of the United States today, Donald Trump, the acknowledged racist and misogynist, and all these titles are put on the President of America now. You know, so Trump draw a political card and pardon Jack Johnson. One of them recognize him as no, you know. People think that politics and sports and race are independent entities. Trump decided to pardon Jack Johnson, Arthur Jack Johnson, the first black heavyweight champion of the world. And you know that that same situation was put on Obama's plate. And Obama being the president of America, and people would consider him to be a black leader, that Obama would be very glad to pardon Jack Johnson. Well, the racial issues are so complex in America. It would appear from a distance that if Obama was to pardon Jack Johnson, everybody would call Obama outright racist and his racism and bias. But if Trump does it, it's a political victory for the racists. And I'm going to say this now. Trump has been spending much of his time trying to erase the legacy of Barack Obama. If Trump really wants to stab him in the back and kill him once and for all, make we hear to Trump pardon Garvey. No, that would be something. Metamorphosis. Yeah, Africa calling. And we're looking at Africa now and Africa's presence at the World Cup. How long has Africa been there? And what about the history of our presence there? Well, as an individual now, I must say like them, before we even get into the World Cup, there was a vote just a few days ago, international voting, and they were voting for who was the world's greatest player. Yeah, the world's greatest player. And in the long and short of it, one man came to the top. That man is Edson Arantes do Nascimento. The world knows him as Pelé, the world's greatest footballer. And of course, down the line there was Messi, Ronaldo. I was looking at the African players, and down the line, somewhere like between the 10 and 15, came the name Eusebio. I know Eusebio is familiar to Iman, and Eusebio is familiar to people who know football history before 1994. A lot of people in Jamaica, as I speak, only know really about football since the Reggae Boys emerged. And I can say that without any apology, because age-wise, 1994, let's call it 1990. If you're born 1990, you are 28 years old in this time. Right, 1990 will make you a 28-year-old. And the Reggae Boys thing started in 1994. So you'd have been just in a little boy. You're 4 years old when Rene Simoes come here. So your whole life and knowledge of the game is really about Reggae Boys. And a lot of the Jamaican population now is below 35. So from that perspective, I can know that such a young population don't really necessarily over the history of the game, because a lot of people think that the game start play when them start watch it. So 1994, from then on, we have been developing our experts here in Jamaica. Right? Born 1990. Give them 1985. Let's go back as far as 1985. So that person will be 33 now. And will be considered to be an adult and a big man, and know him at talk about, and him know the game. And his knowledge of the game begin to develop when him starts the Reggae Boys. Because other than that, he was a little youth. So our analytical powers of football, I am saying, is limited in Jamaica, because a lot of these persons just come and read up a whole heap of statistics and become statisticians and think that that is being analytical. You have to know the history, and you have to understand the psychology of this game to have any insight into analyzing what's taking place. So, real football World Cup, 1930. For my experience though, my first conscious knowledge of a World Cup is 1966. The World Cup in England. Now, the people them now who are big time supporters now, none of them never even born yet. You don't have to be born at that time to know, but if you don't do the proper reflections, you're also going to talk off the top of your mouth in these times. So you have people telling you, oh, Messi better than Pele, and Messi this, and Ronaldo better than Pele. One of the major differences between the players of that time and this time is FIFA. Because FIFA has changed the rules of the game to favor attacking players now. Referees now protect attacking players. In the era of Pele and Puskas and Yashin, Lev Yashin, it was all about brutality. The defensive players knew nothing but brutality. And so you have to be far more courageous to play and excel at the highest level. Now, as a player, touch an next play, drop and roll and run on and spray upon him. And they're highly protected by the referees. So guys like Messi would never survive what Maradona had to go through, because the nature of the game has changed. Offside rule has been adjusted to give the attacker the advantage. So FIFA has interfered, hoping to make the game more exciting and to create more goals. It has reduced the game to a level where defensive players are no longer good. You don't find many good defensive players anymore, because even a man line up in the back of the play field, he's still an attacking player. So we're going to talk about the Africans now and their contribution to the World Cup 1930. Now you see, black man, we have to see ourselves now, as products that were extracted out of the African continent in the same way that them extract out the gold and the mineral and the other resources. When them exhaust that and began to develop them sporting industry, they also turned to Africa for talent. And the evidence now is in the 1966 World Cup with the appearance of the king, El Rey. This is the king before Pele get the title. We're talking about the man from Mozambique. This is Africa now, at the World Cup. This is the Mozambican striker representing Portugal in the name of Eusebio. And Eusebio was the king of football. He had the title El Rey. The same 66 tournament that Eusebio shine like a gem is the same tournament the man them kick out Pele, mash him up with kicks. That the king decides he would be the king in the future because he had retirement on his mind. So he would never be the king if he never changed his attitude and decide to come and take a few more kicks. So of us see where the thing coming from, and Africa has been contributing steadily to everything that the world has and has built up. So Eusebio, genius, top goal scorer in the 66 tournament. By 1970, the next World Cup, Pele would return to the game and would play his final World Cup and would be victorious. So African black man now, because remember now, Brazil had the most black people outside of Africa during the colonization period. So the Brazilian football is influenced by African influences and African traditions, African rhythms. It's the same vibration that connected Jamaica now to affiliate itself with Brazilian football because of the African traditions, the style and the format, everything. So the coming through of the football is very interesting how Africa has been treated, because representation is controlled and determined by FIFA. And when the World Cup was 16 teams, out of the 6 confederations, only one team came out of Africa. I want to them sort of say, no, Africa have 54 countries. And it's one team used to come out of Africa to represent Africa at the World Cup. One. Our region that we live in CONCACAF used to have one too. That one was usually Mexico. But look at the size of Mexico and look at the size of Africa. Africa has 54 countries. So Egypt, that is now arrived at the World Cup again, has been a representative for quite some time. They call themselves the Pharaohs. So, we here in the Western world get conditioned through Bible that Pharaoh is enemy and Pharaoh is evil. Here is a football team, a national team called the Pharaohs. We have to check out who are the Pharaohs, because the Pharaohs could be anybody that we should have fear. And in today's football world now, the top player, goal scorer in the English Premier League is an Egyptian. So you watch the EPL and you say Mo Salah. He is an African, but they don't speak of him as an African. Them keep telling you that he is an Egyptian, because hopefully you will continue to keep up the illusion of separating Egypt from Africa. So it's African players who are now very, very visible and dominant, not just in the European leagues and in the English leagues, but also now at the World Cup. There's a time when you never see an African player playing for a European team at the World Cup level. There's a time when you wouldn't see an African-looking player playing for England, because the World Cup now is a site of contestation and a site of racial identity and racial power. And so the Europeans use these settings to demonstrate their powers of organization and execution. The Africans now have been brought into Europe. And just like how them exploit the resources of the country, they are now exploiting the talent, which is the footballers. These footballers are identified as young talent in Africa. And then they are recruited into the lower leagues of European countries. And within 2-3 years, if they make it, we see them on the Bundesliga, and we see them in the EPL, and we see them in the Spanish league. But it's a tremendous market that now the African is now a source of labor. And if you look around into the European leagues, look into Belgium, look into Italy, look into Spain, look into Germany. The place that I don't see any black man show up yet is in Russia. Russia is the host of the World Cup. And the racism in Russia is going to shock a lot of people. But it is there. And the competition is what brings it out. So Africa is now in a situation where we have 5 teams. 5 teams have qualified for this Russian tournament. I used to carry Brazil all the way up to the 70s. And from that point, I've been carrying Africa from the days of Zaire. I get them 9 love from Scotland. So of the 5 teams I favor, out of those 5 teams, I think 2 can perhaps advance to the final 8. And so the next program now, I'll identify closer the groups and which teams I think will come out. And how is it that an island like Jamaica ultimately could get forward onto that stage? Because we are now at a distance. We are at a very, very far distance from being on a stage that is now called the World Cup. It's interesting that as well that we have now decided to pay the coach, the Jamaican coach, on a 4-year contract. And we don't know what that is really suggesting. But the next program, when I'm on look into Jamaica, I will speak to that. The whole idea now is that on Thursdays, if you link me on my Facebook page, from 7 to 9, Dr. Iman Black, there's a 2-hour discussion there on sports, football, Thursday evening, football, sports. And the World Cup is on the agenda. And the theme is To Russia with Love. Looking at the racial issues, the power, the economics, the psychology, the culture. And ultimately, are we as black people burning too much energy in sports and entertainment? And should we not be fueling much of this into science and technology and economics and the other areas of life that give you real power. Metamorphosis. We're looking at Africa and Africa's present in this upcoming World Cup. And the teams that have qualified, if they are interestingly poised or placed or located in basically the same region of Africa, Northern Africa. And the most notable absent, from my perspective, team that is absent from the competition is the Cameroons. Because the Cameroons started showing up themselves from the early 1980s. And we were there in 1990 with the great Roger Miller. 1994, Nigerian Super Eagles came to the World Cup in 1994. And they are here again in 2018. And so the expectations have risen quite a bit that the African nations will generate out of the group of 5 one of or 2 of these teams that can really challenge the whole continental forces that control football between Europe and South America. So Egypt and Nigeria, Senegal, these are teams that are in the competition. Tunisia, Morocco. And it's interesting also that these teams are considered often by Europeans as Northern Africans. And they are above the black Africans. They call the Africans who are not in the north sub-Saharan Africans. Sub, meaning they're below. So psychologically, oftentimes we think that those people in the north are above and better. The white man tells you if you want to go north, you have to go up. And if you want to go south, you go down. So you go up north and down south. Well, I know that rivers flow down. There's no river that flows up. But yet the river Nile in Africa flows from south to north. I don't know why the river flows up if north is up. So all these are arguments that have been constructed. Because once you say you're going down south, it's black people country you're going into. And everybody wants to go up. So we have people who think that when they go into the plane and the plane takes off, they go up to America. And then they come down to Jamaica. So the World Cup now is the venue. The World Cup is the site of whole heap of gambling, whole heap of monetary exchanges, whole heap of activity that we can't even pay attention to all that's happening off the play field because they have us watching the ball. The Africans in the north are mainly Muslim. And the conflict continues on the continent. I had the experience of coaching a couple of youths in Jamaica while I was coaching a team called Chantel in Western Portland. Or was it Georges? I don't remember which one of them, you know. I think it's Georges. And the youth came from St. Mary and was a Muslim. And at a certain point in training, him just broke the line and just run away. And we'll see him come back later on. And I asked him, where I'm going? I said, boy, I'm going to pray. And I had to adjust myself to that. The players had to adjust themselves to the systems of belief that one who is a Muslim maintain. Now, sometime before a match, sometimes before a game, the team will gather and everybody, players hug up each other in a circle and then we'll say a prayer. And a man kneel down in the middle and when him done play, him done pray, him done in Jesus' name. And the brother who is a Muslim have to look at him and go say, Allah, something, something, something. Him say something about Allah. And the man who say in Jesus' name go on like him feel offended. Because when him say in Jesus' name, that's supposed to seal up everything. The Bible never say nothing else because him call upon that Almighty. So we see the struggle. We see the struggle where the one group think that they have connection to a power that is greater than the other group. Yet two groups them say them worshiping the one power. We have to look into the politics of that and free yourself from those who set up themselves to control. So when we're watching this World Cup, look at the movement of the African teams. Look at Nigeria. Look at Egypt. Egypt is in a very tricky group because they're in the group with the Russians. And the Russians are a team that, from the political perspective, well, put it this way, from the game level, they are not supposed to go to the second round based upon the 4 teams in that group. But based upon politics, I am saying the Russians have a chance. Because FIFA run competitions for money. And the Russians would guarantee a certain type of home crowd if they get to the second round. So we're going to watch that round very carefully and watch what happens to the Egyptians. Will they go through with the Uruguayans or what will be the outcome of that? And then also, of course, I want to then pay attention to Tunisia, Morocco, and Senegal. Any of these teams can, with a victory in the first round, anything is possible. So we now rule out yourself because of our attraction and affinity now to football on the 2 major continents. The 2 major continents of football are really Europe and South America. Those are the giants. And they are the ones who have been winning the World Cup from 1930. Back and forth and back. So it's not a simple thing to win. It requires tremendous resources and national effort. And it also requires the support of the nationals who live outside of the country. So what FIFA does is allow individuals who don't just born in the country but have some kind of generational connection to be able to play for the country that they want to choose for. In other words, now, there's a Leon Bailey, who's a Jamaican, who, for all practical purposes, not willing to play for a team like Jamaica, who is not organized. And within the rules of FIFA, within a certain span of time, he can take on citizenship of probably England or one of those other countries that he has a link to. So the powers of FIFA allow you to change your national identity. That is why in the Reggae Boys program in 1994, 98, there were 3 Englishmen who came to Jamaica and played for the Reggae Boys just because they had heritage and some form of family lineage. So FIFA as a government can allow people to change their national identity. And so we realize now that there is national identity and there is also racial identity. So the African who was born as an African and a black man in Africa and being African by race and black by race, he ends up playing for Italy. Because he's able to change his national identity and call himself Italian. But we can't dismiss saying black. We can't dismiss his African heritage. So it forces you to recognize yourself and to realize the two different levels of identity. One is national and one is racial. People in Jamaica need that consciousness to know that Jamaican is not a racial identity. Jamaican is a national identity. It's an attitude, possibly, but fundamentally, the racial identity of the people here is African. We are black people. And until we begin to embrace that now, we're going to have problems now when we try to talk about religion. Because black people, African people, are not written into the book. That is supposed to be a good book. So there's always going to be a conflict when Africans, black Africans, conscious Africans try to speak to those who are unconscious and are Negroes about that book. World Cup 2018, To Russia with Love, Metamorphosis. The Egyptian Pharaohs, 1934, first appearance at the World Cup. Their last appearance, 1990. Yeah, Africa on the rise. Metamorphosis, looking at World Cup 2018, To Russia with Love. You know that I'm going to show you again power. And power is not the same thing as authority. Well, I can explain that maybe a little later on. But the power of FIFA is really something else. Really, I tell you, them make government, power of the government them look soft, even though the government have connection to the military forces. Now, FIFA decides to set up these political constituencies to manage the game structurally. And so they have these confederations, 6 of them. And when you look at what FIFA defines as a continent, you make you have to laugh. Now this is a body of people now defining. Again, is who have the power to define. Now we know Africa is a continent. And Africa has its representatives at the World Cup, 5 of them. Asia, bigger than Africa. It has 4 teams, 4 countries. CONCACAF, which is North America, Central America, and the Caribbean. 3 teams. South America, which is a continent that is really one or the other between them and Europe, that usually wins the World Cup. They have 5 representatives. And Europe have 14. And of course, Europe is not anywhere near the size of South America, nor Africa, but it's for them game. So them going to define who play where and who is able to qualify and who will not qualify. What they have also done is call Australia a continent. They call that area Oceania. And I challenge anybody to explain to me why is a place as small as Australia called a continent. Australia is small. Australia is an island. Yeah, it's an island, you know. But because those who have the power to tell you about north being up and south being down, they also tell us that Australia is a continent. All right, well, I'm not so good at that. I'm trying to show the importance of those who can define and name. The politics now of Africa becomes very critical now when we look at the World Cup for 2026. So I'll just wrap up this section now with this reasoning about the World Cup in 2026. The World Cup is every 4 years. And minus the years of the wars in Europe, it has been happening every 4 years from 1930. And so they're, just like the Olympics, countries have to bid to be the host of these international games. So this 2018 edition is Russia. And the next edition is supposed to be in a place called Qatar, which is amongst Arabian countries. Because FIFA is arguing that they're spreading out the game, taking the game all around the planet. The following World Cup now, 2026, is where it going to get bringle and it start get muck already. Because in 2026, the winner will be announced on the day before this World Cup starts. So sometime around the 13th of June, FIFA will announce who has won the bid for the 2026 World Cup. The bid now is between Morocco, and Morocco now is Africa, you know. So Africa is making a bid for the World Cup. But Africa's bid now is being challenged or being contested by North America, meaning America, Canada, and Mexico. So for the first time now, 3 countries have united to bid for the tournament. So it's America versus Africa. North America versus Morocco. And the politics started to play out as early as 2-3 weeks ago, when the Nigerian president went to visit Donald Trump. And Trump was very clear in his request that this African leader must go back to Africa and tell his football confederates that they must vote for the United States. So right away now, you know, because of the politics and the economics. African countries now, who you think would support them African brothers now, them get caught up in the economic struggle and the threat now of the American president that if they don't vote for America, it's not going to be nice because he will perhaps stop dealing with them because you know how Trump behave. So Liberia has already agreed to support America without any question. Jamaica has decided to support North America because of Jamaica's own interests. World Cup is closer and we can go there and we can watch it and this and that. So what you find out happening now at the political level, the United States has shown that economically they have all the stadiums in place and they have told FIFA that they will make more profits than they can ever imagine. And the evidence is there because in 1994 America held their first World Cup and FIFA bid. This time the promise is that they will make more billions. So the possibilities looming greater that the 2026 World Cup will be held in North America and not in Africa. And African countries who maybe want to vote for Morocco will probably take the political high ground and save their own skins and vote for the United States because of the power that Trump holds and the economic backlash that they fear will come if they don't support America. And then there are people who try to tell you that sports and politics don't mix. It's like telling you, say, if a man tell you to love your enemy, him is your friend. Something is wrong. Metamorphosis.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low price promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
I saw the thing go. Rastis representing for Clubber Juggling on Styles FM from 1 to 5 p.m. every Wednesday with the Clubber Boss. Turn them. Yeah, man, high rev juggling, the beer hot song, electrifying energy. Steer them. You don't know Clubber them. Raza Tak representing.
Architects, draftsmen, and surveyors, get your drawings printed in high-quality professional standards. We can satisfy your printing needs. Whether it is for presentation to your clients or for submitting building and subdivision application, make it VJ Printing Services. Whether drawing by hand or with computer-aided softwares, we will plot your negatives and print the copies as you need. We do high-quality white paper printing that is water-resistant and never fades, unlike traditional blueprint. For more information, call VJ Printing at 893-2266.
Remember Styles FM on social media. View us on YouTube, Styles FM Radio. Follow us on Instagram at Styles FM. Like us on Twitter at Styles FM 961. Become a fan on Facebook, Styles FM 96.1.
It's Wow Factor Tuesdays with Chungy and Shelly. Every Tuesday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's entertainment and interaction at its best. With features like the Share to Care segment, the Uprising 10 Countdown, and the ever-controversial Love Break. Yes, it's the Wow Factor. Your Tuesday mornings will never be the same again.
Wow Factor Tuesdays is sponsored by Wholesale Photo Lab Studio and DocuCenter and Bobby's Cafe Bar and Grill.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Black. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Titchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Wow, skip a George.
The dawn of the living day. I and I are the living
What is the difference between a servant and a slave? What is the difference between a servant and a slave? Metamorphosis. Look, trying to create that link now between this realm of sport and religion. And you wonder, I wonder all the while, but I don't wonder why, but I figure that I know, maybe I don't. But why is it that you see athletes make the sign of the cross? All the while, you see they make the sign of the cross. You look at football, you see when the athletes running onto the pitch, you see they make the sign of the cross and they run on. And you see people pointing up into the sky when they win. And what is that all about? What is it? Is it that we are attributing success and the rationale and the reason for success for something that is up in the sky? And what is this cross that we keep putting over on our forehead and our faces? So the religion thing now is entrenched. Yet the Ku Klux Klan burn cross, you know. I want to remember that. Them not have no fear of the cross where we seem to be traumatized over. Black people afraid of the cross because of the Jesus and the cross and the imagery of that. The black white people them burn the cross. Them burn it upside down and put it on black people lawn in America. And nobody don't do nothing to them, and the law don't do them nothing. Nothing happen to them. But black people get afraid and hide behind doors when the white man them outside in them white outfit and the Klansman them come with them cross. And them come burn cross on black people front lawn. And we are embrace this cross now because our sportsmen seem to think that something is intrinsically good about this cross. So there are issues now when it comes to religion and sport. Why should a team pray before a game? Why should they pray? And why should a creator require prayers from mere mortals made from dirt, shaped by, born in sin and shaped by iniquity? Why would a supreme being need prayers from such an entity? What type of weakness are we seeing demonstrated? So we have to stop and check. Because I have had experience as a coach for years upon years in different places and spaces. And I've heard teams in the next locker room praying. And when them come out, when them done with them, we give them a hate love. And yet they were praying. So I always ask the question, what happened? Where did their prayers go? And it made me conclude that whatever them praying to, if it's the same thing my players pray to, then that thing don't support them. And then we can't look at it like that because the next day, you know, that team may go out and win and my team lose. So why do we need this concept now of this entity to turn to when it is all imaginary? Because the results come from what you put out and officials, because they have a great influence now on the results of all games. The officials. Because if them thief, you have a hard time. And if them supporting the gambling, you're going to have a hard time. So we find that now more questions are asked about winning and losing and the value of this supreme force that is supposed to be guiding and protecting all man through all his activities. Does it mean that it don't work in our sports? Because in the 1986 World Cup, England versus Argentina, this is high-level international football. Diego Maradona goes high for a header and fists the ball into the goal. Illegal activity, unrespected, unrecognized by the referee. Goal allowed. They call it the hand of God. Yeah, them says Maradona goal was called the hand of God. An illegal activity. Because nobody saw it and he got away with it. So, what is this role now of God in a sports? Because if God worked different in sports, then why should God work a different way in civil society? And work a different way in politics? And work a different way in economics? What happened? Is it that sports is such an autonomous field that God can't get involved? There are gamblers, gambling taking place in sports, illegal, morally illegal activity. And these men are calling upon God. So I said to the black people, we have to check the nature of this God that is being called upon. And now to check the nature of that God now, we're going to the same book that them give us. Them say they give us a book that is a good book. I asked myself the question yesterday, then if God have a good book, does that mean that Satan have an evil book? What a book the name? What's the name of Satan's book? And why does God need a book? A book? God have a voice. I never know God can talk to people. What language? You have to stop and check them kind of story now. Because out of that same book comes all confusion that facing black people today. And that confusion manifests itself in the so-called debate that we had in Jamaica recently between a pastor and an entertainer. Both of them drawing up on the book. And the book is so confusing that both of them feel that they're right. And people trying to justify and rationalize these laws that them reading in this book. The book is a bag of confusion. The book is created upon a mythology, which is a creation story. And the book continues with fables. The first creation story is a mythology. And the myth is an attempt to explain a beginning. The second Genesis story is a fable. Because now we hear about Eve and Adam and a serpent. When you read English literature and it involves animals that can speak, we're no longer talking about history. We're talking about a fable. So Eve and Adam is a fable. And all the characters that follow that fable are also fables. But now we have black people calling themselves preachers and intellectuals now are going into these book of fables to try to verify and justify African history and to define and determine codes of behavior. The same book has a hero called Jesus. And Jesus is supposed to be the leader of this new dispensation called New Testament. And he's supposed to be walking in the image and likeness of the Jesus. What I find very interesting is that even my brethren, smooth sailing, I had to call him and ask him, how come him do have no locks? And him laugh and say, well, him is like this. And I said to him, but Jesus, as a Nazarene and as a Nazarite, took vows against putting razor upon his head and his hair. It's the same vows that Samson took. These men were Nazarites. So why is it the Christian them not growing them locks? Why is it them not looking like Jesus? It's them trying to tell you that you must live like Jesus and do what the Bible says. So we find that people are selectively choosing what them choose to defend, what them want to defend. Out of the book of confusion. I put up a post asking the question about why should prayers be required. And a sister that I know from Titchfield, as a student, she just fire back with some scripture. Mark 11:24, Philippians 4:6, Jeremiah 31:3, Genesis 1:27, Acts 3:19, Isaiah 55. That is her response to the question. So you can go in the book and draw from all different places, front, back, and middle, and put something together that you think is coherent. So you justify a point, you tell me what a man in Acts say, and you connect what Acts said to Isaiah, and then you connect what Isaiah said to Jeremiah, and then you connect Jeremiah to Reuben, and you come to me and tell me that that is a reasoning. So it's pure confusion. And African people, black people must recognize that the source of the confusion is the Bible. It is the source of confusion. And pseudo-intellectuals and people redeeming themselves from all sort of lifestyles and claiming that is the Bible saved them. And the words of the Bible are holy. So we want to know again, if everybody can go into the book and draw out holy words and they can be contradictory, then the book is not a book of truth. It can't be a book of truth if the same book have 5 interpretations for one sentence. It's a book of confusion. And the confusion is rearing its head greater and greater, and have all women now stupefied. It's like them paralyzed and them brain have men telling them all these things about what them is and what them is not because of what them wearing and what them not wearing. Who are these men? Who are these bald-headed men who don't look nothing like the Jesus? So the book is what is part of our enslavement. That book. And arena, as I said earlier, that we have been left to explore and exhaust ourselves is entertainment and religion. And within the black population for the last 100 years, we have produced the greatest preachers and the greatest sportsmen. But we haven't produced the greatest scientists up front and the greatest manufacturers and owners of enterprises. We're not seeing that. So me I check the item now and I say, look, make a revisit this book. Because we have a lot of people calling themselves authorities now. And within those authorities now, they are telling you that them have what? Them have a special connection. And they have the power to interpret. And they don't have to think anymore because all answers are in the book. And we don't investigate the writers of those books because these are inspired men. So it's a circle. And the only way out of that circle is to stop and to think. Because this book that they say is a good book is a book of war, confusion. It tells you about the Tower of Babel, where the same Lord God bring confusion in the world and confuse the people. How can there be truth from that Lord of confusion? Stop and think, man. Make us stop and check yourself. Everybody can be so righteous. Everybody can claim to be the way and the truth and the light. And the whole world population can come to consciousness by reading about a man who lived 2,000 years ago. Because consciousness has been in existence hundreds of thousands of years. Societies have been developing themselves long before Egypt and Africa became a central part of Hebrew culture. So the confusion in the church must start pay taxes. Church must start get real with the people. Church must start provide spaces for training. Church must free up the land and get the people out of this state of confusion. But the mission of the church from day one was to lead the enslavement. So we can't expect the church to lead the liberation. It is the I and the I and the I. Rastafari.
when the morning comes, I could run to get some peace. Here comes the person with the spot, saying dreadlocks, you don't come here to drink this soup and spot. Oh, General, penitentiary. Penitentiary. Oh, General, penitentiary. Penitentiary. As time and time go by, it's the set for the same every day. So if you can, the time, don't bother with no crime. For the food that you take to save your life can let you lose it the same. General, penitentiary. Penitentiary. Oh, General, penitentiary. Oh, penitentiary.
What a stress, should I be tested? Lucky thing aside, Jah. Oh, what a stress, should I be a prisoner? Look what they've done to Peter. And before my word has come to pass. Vision before them talking about Marcus at last. Look what I and I has come to live and see. Should I blood run in the misery of their poverty? The people are arm in arm with their arms. Decent folks live in fear of their own life. And if we should go arm in arm for our wives, they would try to take our life and build strife. What a stress, great one as fast, never ending like that. Surviving the iron storm, I pledge to do. Utterance from my lips, I feel the suffering too. Surviving the iron storm, killing is not my thing. Better dead than I, now take a beating. Her blood will not be shed, unforgotten. I said she feel the bombs of Babylon body. Look what experience taught her in the long run. Babylon take her for the hot cross unforgotten. I said she feel the pangs of Babylon body. Look what experience taught her in the long run. Babylon take her for the hot cross bun. What is this? I be tested. Lucky thing aside, Jack. Oh, what a stress. Should I be a prisoner? Look what they've done to Peter. Just before my word has come to pass. Vision before them talking about Marcus at last. Look
Yeah, metamorphosis.
has come to live and see.
Looking into the foundation and the root of enough of the confusion that reigns between black people. And let's say this book here now that I speak, making reference to, it's not it alone, you know. There's another book. It's coming like it's compadre. It's compadre. It's called the Quran. One brethren called it the Noble Quran. And these two books now, people fight over them, claiming that what is in them is true and truth. And one of the books them now have a key. Let's call it the star of that text. Star of one text is Muhammad, and the other star of the other text is Jesus. And two of these characters now lead these books. They are the main characters of these two books. And in these books now we're supposed to find truth. But I tell you, the truth is relative, and truth is dependent upon the position of power that you hold. The Arabs conducted the most brutal enslavement on black people that the world has ever seen. The millions of black men that was castrated, particularly coming out of Eastern Africa and taken into these Arabian places and even as far as China. Black man. And in that process, them put Islam away. We never steal Islam from nobody. Islam was put on black people. And the barbaric behavior of the Arabs and the Muslims far outreach what the Europeans did with them Christianity. Yeah, but it's because we are in this part of the plantation and we're under the Western Christian influence. We are not really so exposed to the barbarism of Muslim culture and African people. And we see the barbarism continue today, even in Northern Africa, where you see black men from Africa are being turned into slaves in a place like Libya. Because the Arab does not see himself as an African. The Arab sees himself as a superior being to the African. We have to know these things and don't get caught up with just a white man and a white man this and a white man that. We have a more devious force to deal with before the white man came out of the caves. And so this Muslim book now, the Quran, is part of the enslavement of literature that has been given to black people. But as I say, in this part of our plantation, we don't see it often. We see the King James version of reality, which is a King James Bible. And is this now, enough black men delve into become authorities. Rather than go and find meaningful jobs and go study some serious book, they decide to study the Bible for come back and tell people where them read and try to turn it into a career and hustle after people. Hustle money. Because them spend time reading this book and get inspired to come and tell you what is in it, like say you can't read for yourself. So it turns into a big industry, a big enterprise. And the preacher man was always used by the plantation owner to control the masses. Yeah, the preacher. Him is the one who, when Baka Master say, hey, you know, problems in the plantation is a preacher him call upon. And the preacher come to the masses who are in rebellion and tell them to be calm. And tell them things about the Bible now and tell them about Jesus and Jesus' suffering. And telling them that they must suffer and have long suffering because the day will come when they shall be relieved of their suffering and they shall be taken away off the planet up into this rapture and carry the people and brain out of them consciousness. And while the black people's brains are being taken off the planet, the Chinese and the Europeans have all returned to Africa. They have all returned to Africa after them shave it up and carve it up and rip it out, them coming forward into it again. And black people can't see Africa because of the focus of the Bible keeping them eyes on a pie in the sky. It's a wicked and dreadful condition. And none of these religions are liberating black people because both of them have the continent at war, Muslim versus Christian. And the war is always around the resources in the land. It's the land resources them fighting for, hiding behind religion. setting up one African against the other because one walk behind Allah and the other one walk behind Jesus. And these characters are fictional, particularly the Jesus character. Black people will have no history of anybody coming to earth through them kind of thing, except Clark Kent. Clark Kent is the only one who come through some vessel and land and was found by two old people and decided to hide his Superman identity. It's fable. It's a fable. So the book that they've given us, the book, the King James book, that black people holding on to as history and quoting Jeremiah and Isaiah and Rebecca and all kind of men to justify and verify where Iman is in today's world. John the drunk, John the divine, the insane, sit on an island on them cocaine head and visualize horse flying through the sky and red and blue horse. And we come here today holding on to those things as a reality and ignoring the fact that we are African people with our own continent and our own history. So there's enough things we have to unwind. And what the two books have in common is that they both hold on to the same mythology. And they both hold on to the founders of the religion. They both agree it's the same man. So the Quran and the Holy Bible of King James refer to a man called Abraham. Yeah, a fictional character. And it's these characters now that we are putting flesh to. And trying to use argument to tell us, our people in today's world, who these men were, where them come from, how they were inspired by God. Them tell you about a man named Paul, wickedest man, one of the wickedest man who walked the earth. All of a sudden now he becomes Saul. Saul becomes Paul. And moving from evil to good, just like that. These are not realities. These are fictional characters. And until we begin to get conscious enough to step outside of the book and look on the book from the outside, we remain prisoners to those pages. And the women are the greatest slaves because they subject themselves now to men. Men who use these pages to justify a sexist dominance. They're not using intelligence and political sway and consciousness and African-centered behavior. It's deception. So women are sitting in the church feeling ashamed by men telling them what they should wear and what they should not wear. And these men oftentimes are pedophiles, are perverts, have all sorts of dysfunctions. But they can hide behind the cloth. They can hide themselves behind religion and tell you how God inspired them. So we will not really, as a people, get much further in the struggle to be self-reliant. Because the religious teachings tell you not to be self-reliant. It teaches you to be dependent. Dependent on spirits. Dependent on ghosts. Dependent on prayer. Dependent on everything except the divinity that is within the eye. So, Muslim, Christianity are part of the enslavement tools that black people must still work themselves out of. It is important that we lose the fear, because the fear concept is what has been preventing enough man from thinking outside of the book, outside of that book. When you are told that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and that wisdom comes from above, you're not walking on the earth. You have no willpower to demonstrate, no intelligence. You're a zombie. You're a robot. You're not a free-thinking being. Your thoughts are manipulated by pages. And these pages are written by men who have been evil men, drunken men, men who send all them other men to war to take away them wives. A confused world in that book. Fortunately, the Chinese are not in the book, and they have escaped that confusion. The Indian population have their own deities, and they are not caught up in any Jesus to save them. It's the Negroes. And I say Negroes, not African people. The Negroes. Those who bow to Christianity as their salvation. The Negroes. Because before Christianity and Islam, they were African people. Kemetic people. We are still here. Genetic memory keeps us alive. The people of Kemet. Metamorphosis.
Do you have or are you seeking a place to rent, seeking employment or have a job vacancy? Are you selling a car or having a garage sale? Then come see us. Let Styles do the advertising for you and you'll be on your way in no time. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Advertising Style. Advertise with Styles.
This is Ricardo Suave, inviting you to tune into Smoozic, the show for the ladies, with DJ Prestige, from 9 to midnight every Tuesday on Styles 96.1 FM, Portland's best.
Girl, I've been watching you.
Native Audio Stage and Lighting, now offering stage, lighting, and truss systems for your small and medium-sized events. Whether it's a stage show, concert, drama play, wedding, street party, or club setting, you name it, we'll bring it to life. Call us at 871-5212 or 844-6531. Native Audio Stage and Lighting, a sponsor of In the Know of the Law with Sergeant Delrose Green, and also Real Talk with Lady Cleo and Daddy Rude.
Are you sick of living an average life and tired of just getting by? Do you want to take your life to the next level? Learn the secrets of the super successful. Listen to Power in a Half Hour with Coach Mark this and every Wednesday night on Styles FM from 9 to 10 p.m. Learn the habits of the super successful and how to make these habits work for you. Learn to turn your dreams and desires into reality. You can win in the game of life. Let Coach Mark show you how. Every Wednesday night on Styles FM from 9 to 10 p.m.
Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Black. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Ditchfield Hill, they offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
From the side to start to end. Whoa, da 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 do. Whoa, da 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 do. Sitting on the mountain chanting. Sitting on the mountain chanting.
Yeah, the metamorphosis goes on. healing up some people who are sending through some vibes on the WhatsApp. Heal up Tris in Queens. And of course, with me a Tris in Queens, I feel all the ones in the tri-state area, which is Brooklyn, Bronx, Queens, and Manhattan. And I bring in Connecticut. And then if I go further into Washington and go across into Atlanta and all these various states that are under Trump. Heal up all the ones and ones listening. Ones and ones in California watching the killer wave volcano activity. And them say California on the same plate. And watching and one of them stay alert and stay conscious. Because the lava flow is like, when I see it, it's like the blood, like the earth bleeding. It's like the blood coming out of the earth. And the earth is bleeding because of the brutality of man against man on the surface. And the amount of weapons we have been firing and exploding both in the air and under the ground. Earth can't take it no more. Earth crying out. Volcanoes, lava flow, earth bleeding. Hurricane season coming. Serious times. So again, we hear up D, yeah, free thinker. Heal up Kevin in Sunning Hill in St. Thomas. Heal up Tris again in Queens. And heal up a one who don't give them name, but them say Germany 2018. Oh, famous Pearl. He's a side in St. Thomas. Alright, so yeah man, give thanks for the connection and we're glad that people are listening and people are hopefully doing the most important thing, which is thinking. And thinking is a process wherein we have to abandon fear to think, you know. Because you can think evil, you know. You can think good, you can think indifferently. So the thinking part is free. Is the actions now you have to direct it. I can see a man walking and money drop out of his pocket. Yeah, I can decide now what I shall do now, you know. I can pick it up and give it to him, you know. I can pick it up and put it in my pocket. So the choice is there. And we have to be thinking, really, how is it we're going to exercise our decisions? But here we go now. Fear. We must be able to think fearlessly. And by that I mean, you can't be thinking and thinking that there's a consequence to your thinking. And that consequence will cause you harm and danger because of your thinking. It's as if your thinking moves into action. So we have to begin to make that separation and have control now over that ability to think, which is one, and the ability to execute our thoughts, which is the second. So if I see a nice lady and think that we will have a good time together, that's a whole different thing. I can also always think that. As long as I don't move towards that, everything all right, you know. That is happening only in my imagination and nobody else can say no. So we have to learn to have confidence and control over our own thinking, and ultimately we have control over our own actions. But the Bible, the Christian Bible now, glorifies fear and encourage ones and ones to be fearful. And they begin by this telling you this thing about the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. I remember earlier, you know, them talk about the virtues of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. No, with these concepts of wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, you are now being told that the fear of the Lord is the beginning of all wisdom. So if you don't start this, you can't wise. That's a wicked sentence to put out on a man, you know. A wicked sentence. So a child born in Afghanistan and grew up a genius and don't know anything about this Christian thing. Where I say they can't be wise, they can't be a genius, they can't exercise wisdom. It's only you have to fear this Lord first. So we have been brutalized, you know, as a people. Physically brutalized, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually brutalized, and reduced to chattel through fear. Mothers became fearful of their sons. Mothers started hiding their sons. That is when the things are brought down, you know, when the mothers start hiding the future protectors. When the mothers start hiding the sons, the girls become more assertive and the old things start work back ways. So this fear thing now, and you have all of these religious men and women now who claims to them they are preachers and intellectual and defending these words, talk about, yes, fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. And they're going to articulate now and expound on this sentence. You know. First of all, I'm going to say, well, fear doesn't mean fear like when people afraid. And I'm going a whole set of gyration to explain what they don't know. They don't understand the language. Because fear is fear. When a man breaks into your house with a gun and you feel fear, is that fear you want me to have of the Lord? That can't be. That can't be. That man threatening my life and my family and I feel fear. Is that same fear you want me to have of the Lord? Then I can walk around as a wreck. And maybe why black people behaving so because we're walking around with this unusual and abnormal burden of fear. We are confusing fear with reverence. Reverence is not fear. Just the same way we don't understand the difference between discipline and punishment. Punishment is not discipline. Punishment is punishment. Fear is not reverence. And I rather my children have reverence for me than fear of me. Because reverence suggests respect. I don't have respect because I fear you. You think I respect the gunman who come into my house with a gun? How does respect get involved in that? There's no respect in that. So how you want me to respect the Lord God through fear? Make a go away with them thought there. Don't confuse people who don't understand the language. All those who claim it, go back, go read the language I've called English. And they don't know nothing what they're talking about. So you can't keep the population under fear. Same way you keep the children fearful because if them go outside, the boogeyman go in trouble them. So them fearful and they stay inside. It controls your brain. Controls your thought processes. And that's what the Bible does in its initial framework. And the preachers then play upon the fear of the people. There was a preacher in a community that I was in last night. And me just go into my house and turn on my set. The man was abusing my ears. Yeah, man, the man saying some things out there and who can go where and who for go which part, and because he was a drunkard, him no longer a drunkard, he has been saved. And everybody must be saved like him. It's always people who feel in the edge of the world, you know, feel like them when drown, you know, and grab onto the straw, you know, and say religion save them. And so they become the most dangerous people. Everybody them grow, them buck up now, them come to save them. So the thing has brought more confusion in black people's life than any form of liberation. It has brought more confusion in black people's life. And there's nobody who can show me otherwise, because evidence is clear. And the fear of Lord God is a different thing, because when we go into the same book called the Bible, Lord God was not responsible for the first creation. Lord God was not a part of the 7 days of creation. I'm going to say this now, and all of the Bible scholars, run go check it out. The 7 days of the creation story according to the Genesis of King James was not manifested by Lord God. It was manifested by God. God said this and God said that. And on the 6th day, God said, let us make man, males and females. And God made a race called man. Send them out to breed up, multiply and replenish. And on the 7th day, the God of creation rested. And them done with creation. But the second chapter now is the beginning of the fable. Because here we are now introduced to a Lord God who's going to go into the dirt and the bone and create some forms of being that I'm going to call them woman and man. Black people don't know nothing about that, you know. Any black man who accepts that myth creation of the 6 days, that is where it is. That is where it is within that 6 period. Africans were created along with the various dark races of people who went out and multiplied. So chapter 2 is the problem I am finding now. The fable. the fable by this Lord God. And the Lord is an English title. This is where the Englishman or King James begin to interfere with the text. And not only does he interfere with the text, them give you the first backwards idea. It's the first time in the history of the universe. Yeah? The first time that a woman is going to come out of a man. It's the first time in history of the earth that a female will come from a male. Now, which male we know never come from a female? And which female we know that ever came from a male? In other words, no, that rib story is a first backwards ideology that them sink on us. It's the first sign of confusion of that good book. Because intuitively, instinctively, emotionally, psychologically, black people know that males come out of females. And we know that we have no experience of a female ever coming out of a male. But this has what been set down now as a conceptual beginning for black people in the second chapter of the Genesis. And this is the beginning of our confusion. Backwardness. To the extent that we are holding our own women now as slaves. Based upon the whole teachings of that book called the King James Bible. And the Bible as a collection of books, 66 and more, is not the whole problem. The problem is a few of the books. The Genesis, the Exodus, and the Revelations. These are the books that trap and confuse the mind of the African. And it all begins with a backwards ideology of woman coming out of a man. Yet we know that throughout nature, it is a female that is the bearer of the fruit. So you see, until the religious people them can tell me how that go, they are part of the confusion. And the confusion begins in the fable. And it goes on and on and on and on. We are in 2018 in a state of confusion. Metamorphosis. In Guatemala, a volcano just erupted and has wiped out villages and killed enough people. In Hawaii, the volcano has erupted, wiping away societies and peoples. All of these are acts of God. The devil has nothing to do with these destructions. Satan's name cannot be called. These are all acts of God. The same God that the Bible is telling us that I and I must be fearful of and embrace and send prayers to. We have to stop and check, man. Where is the violence? Why so much violence out of this God? Why so much violence? And even the good book is a book full of good violence. It's condemned, can't we? We have been conned into accepting an ideology that is backwards. Yes, backwards from its inception. And until we get the courage to abandon the fear. And this fear not only of Lord God, you know, it's a fear of death. Because Lord God tell you not even Satan them I was afraid of, you know. Not even Satan, because we hardly hear Satan name called when destruction take place. We say Lord God say make the world, and him same one wipe it out with a flood. Him same one come down with the Tower of Babylon and confuse the people. So it's a sick character that creating and destroying out of jealousy, out of human emotions. African people never had no human emotions in the gods that they knew of. How can the God have human emotion and be God? Human is human. So we have to start thinking of ourselves and without any fear. And the whole thing about the fear of death now is that they tell us about the soul. And that we must save this soul. Not save our bodies, you know. No. Make them work out our bodies to death. Make them beat you and slave you to death. Don't try to save your body. No, save your soul. Because it is this soul now that the Lord God will take up and judge. All of this after you die, you know. So we don't have no evidence it taking place. It's imagination. Driven by fear. What we need to know as a people is that death is a transition. Welcomed by many when the body gets too tired. And the transition and the hope for what you call the future rests not in you trying to live forever. This foolish talk about everlasting life. Everlasting life is something that is genetic. Genetics is a foundation to ever living life. Everlasting life. And if life is everlasting and sickly, it's not worth it. We're talking about ever healthy life. And it's all about how now we take care of our offsprings. Because they are the future. They are the present. They also represent the past. They are the now. And so once we begin to disrupt family life and disrupt relations, we begin to disrupt our own future. Which is our reality. This soul business now, soul is really at your foot bottom, you know. Or your skin. That is the soul of black man. With soul case. Our skin. There's nothing airy-fairy that will float out of us when the body gets tired and exhausted. Nothing airy-fairy. So there's nothing to fear. Just like when you're going to sleep, you don't know the moment you fall asleep. You don't even know if you're going to wake up again. You don't even know these things. And it doesn't bother you. Because you're living. So if we remove the fear of death by focusing on living and realize that I don't even think I want to even know when them dead. Nobody knows. Why are we so preoccupied? It's a Christian way of controlling your brain. Telling you now that you must save your soul, but you can sacrifice your body for labor. And then walk way out for 50, 60 years. And like me, you know, after I done put in my service, I know I can't get my pension. Yeah, so I'm going to apply for my thing 3 years ago, you know. And 3 years later today, government can't give me what is mine. So them want me dead and them keep my money. So the system don't set up to protect I and I body, that I can have my resources to feed myself. No. Them says, save your soul. But sacrifice your body for labor on the plantation life. And then walk out your soul case. And then you take your little resources and get the doctor so he can finish you off. It's a very vicious cycle supported by Christianity and politically supported by what they call democracy. It's all coming out of the plantation society. Exploitation by labor, capitalism. Exploitation of spirit and soul and body to capitalism. And we have to see these things and realize that neither Muslim nor Christianity is any salvation for African people. We have to return to our blackness and recall ourselves and the Nile Valley culture. And reclaim Nile Valley culture. Reclaim the deities of the Nile Valley culture. Rebuild ourselves. And leg out Moses and John and Jane and Matthew and whole set of them who are no heroes, so I. No heroes. My heroes are on the continent. Imhotep and Akhenaten and Nefertiti. Black heroes before Islam, before Christianity, before we were captured. And we're going to free ourselves of all religious indoctrinations and false preachers and teachers. What I want to know? Yeah, metamorphosis.
Planning a party, club night out, stage show, a gospel concert, or even a business sales event? Let Styles FM be a part of your promoting tool. Take advantage of our low-price promotion packages with commercials, interviews, giveaways, reviews, and much more. We have special offers when you mix and match and bundle your options. Contact us at 876-286-9216 or 439-5160. Styles FM for the most effective way to exploit your marketing dollar.
For complete auto repairs and services, come to Akon Auto Technology, located at 33 Bumble Crescent, Port Antonio, Jamaica. We offer specialist services in wheel alignment and wheel balancing, brake drum and disc rotary servicing, state-of-the-art ultrasonic cleaning and testing of your fuel injectors. We also stock an assorted range of auto service parts, tires, and motorcraft batteries. If we don't have it, we will source it for you. Call us at 876-715-5205 or email AkonAutoTech16@gmail.com. Akon Auto Technology, beyond the typical auto mechanic shop.
The best event of the summer is back. Styles FM Fan Fusion Party, Episode 5, Tipsy Island. Saturday, July 7th, 2018 at Bayview Waterfront Property, Oysters Bay, Port Antonio, Jamaica. Come hear Styles FM finest DJs juggling retro hits. Retro Gunya style from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. Admission $500 pre-sold, $800 at the gate. VIP $2,500. Party starts at 7 p.m. sharp. Listen to Styles FM for ticket outlets or call 876-518-2399. Fan Fusion Party, Tipsy Island. Dress tropically elegant. Fan Fusion is not just a party, it's an experience.
Must be 18 years and older to enter. ID required. Drink responsibly. Clifford Guest House, sponsor of Metamorphosis on Monday nights from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight with Dr. Iman Black. Located at 15 Queen Street, Port Antonio, that's Ditchfield Hill. They offer accommodations for up to 1 month. Call them at 285-0610 for more information.
Yeah, Metamorphosis. It's already 11:30, so it's the thing running out fast. And I just want to use this section, of course, speak a little bit about what's going on in our story from African perspective, black perspective, without any apologies to any other groups or nations. And again, you think about this thing about we're heavily influenced by religion and politicians. This concept of a church and the state. And the church and the state really are dynamic forces, but they're really one. They're really one because the one power is really the church. And the state kind of grew out of the church to deal with everyday affairs. The church kind of set up to control your life, what they call on spiritual level. Tell you what you believe and what not to believe, and try to point you to what is true and what is not true. Well, the thing that is critical about the Christian religion is this symbol that they draw upon all the while called the cross. And this symbol of the cross is what a lot of people in the religious world hold very dear to themselves. And the cross is supposed to symbolize now the whole Jesus experience. There are some denominations who put Jesus on the cross and you see him kneel up, and there are some who have the cross and they don't have him on him. Some of them tell you say him up on the cross because he has been crucified. Some tell you say them take him off the cross because he has been resurrected. So the whole of them back and forth argument about this thing called the cross. But you see in ancient Egypt, the Nile Valley culture, and I never have no cross for David, We never have no crosses, We never have no crosses to hold on to as no symbol of any life and all them things there. Because we had a symbol of life already. That symbol was the ankh. Right? Symbol of life and fertility for African people in that Egyptian culture was the ankh. And the ankh was really a symbol that represents the male and the female. Their organs. And that is a key to life. Fertility. The Europeans come and twist it around and tell black people that is the symbol of the devil. Everything that is good for us, white man call it the devil. And all that is not good for us, them say it's of God. It's a backways program them have us on for almost 2,000 years. This cross now has become our burden because its cross is we take up. Because on this cross now supposed to be a man who them nail up. And this man supposed to come now to save the sins of those who were of the generation of Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel and those kind of characters. So what them do is pirate our symbol. Them plagiarize the ankh and take out the belly out of the top of it and change it up to a level that it look like a Roman Catholic cross. And it's that black people confused with. The man that walk around with cross on them neck. Look at what people is with the chain on them neck. With the cross. This cross is, a symbol of death. That's not a symbol of life. It's a symbol of death. And but because them believe that this figure that died shall born again, them think it's a symbol of resurrection. It's confusion that, that is the heights of confusion psychologically. The symbol that they glorify is a symbol of death. What African people had before the Christians come with them thing was a symbol of life. The fertility symbol, the symbol of the ankh. If you really want to begin to make a shift in your psychology, throw with the cross. Fling where the cross is. And embrace the ankh. And see if your spiritual life and your psychological life don't change. The cross is about crosses. The cross is about death and suffering. And that's the memory that black people walking around with, death and suffering. Then what will be the condition of your life? You will only manifest what you're having in the meditation. So we can reclaim the ankh and leg of the crosses. And at the same time again, I tell you earlier, the same cross that black people told to worship, the white man, the Ku Klux Klan man, burn that on black people land and drive fear into black people. Because imagine now if we have this great fear of the Lord and the symbol of the Lord, which is a cross, and a white man come and burn that, it must be dread and terrible. It must be even more terrible than the Lord. Because the Lord don't afraid of him. Him can burn the cross of the Lord. What for see the thing for what it is, you know? We'll see for what it is. And realize that we're giving power and credit to the evil. We're giving power and credit to demonic forces and things. So that is what God is. So the cross in ancient Egypt was not something that people glorified. It wasn't even there. And it's out of that same ankh symbol the Germans developed them swastika. All of it coming from the foundation symbol of life, the ankh. Visit ancient Egypt. Look at all of the images of the pharaohs, and you see them almost always have the ankh in their hands. You see the symbol of the ankh on sometimes the crowns of the pharaohs. This is royalty, you know. This is our royalty, our dignity. And if our dignified royalty wear this, it must be symbolic and important in the life of black people. If you want to be conscious and brave, leg of the cross. And hold on to the ankh if you need a symbol that represents life. Metamorphosis.
Those who can hear me, I say, do not despair, do not despair, do not despair.
A judgment, a judgment, a judgment, a judgment. I said this world was created in a circle.
Peter Mackenzie. I hear you. Peter Mackenzie said total destruction is the only solution of religious indoctrination. Yeah, man, we have to mash it down that lie to the ground.
If mankind not change them good behavior, them a go build more prison, cause the mobs them a go loot. Them a fi build more shot because them soldiers a go shoot. Them nah build no machine, nah no water boat, cause no man no want fi plant, but them want fi reap the fruits. Hell a go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell a go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, hell a go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell a go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior.
Again, what's the difference between a servant and a slave?
Their powers never satisfy, always wanting more, and the plight of the people they ignore. While them a run down, push me see the rat gone with the loot, and the big dog round and back, I go take away your boat. Cynical government a generate violence. Can't you see they got no conscience? Hell a go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell a go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, hell a go pop down, yeah. Come take a look in at the future. Hell a go pop down, yeah. If mankind no change them good behavior, judgment, I say a judgment.
Yeah, Bushman out of St. Thomas. Letting have some music upon us. More Bushman.
It's a way of life and not a religion. A tradition. Make up your mind. Hold on, make sure a King Rastafari. You are hailing at this time. Make up your mind. Rastafari, you be hailing at this time. Nobody my heal Rastafari. Them no mean it from them heart. They never want to walk, but ever talk the talk. Oh yes, how they must speak Jah, I never seek Jah. I listen to see the teacher. I and I come fi burn out imposter. Kill Rasta, make up your mind. Rastafari, you be hailing at this time. Make up your mind. Rastafari, you be hailing at this time.
Yo, Rastafari come with a message that cause enough confusion amongst the confused people of the Bible. Because they are there looking now for this second coming now, because remember they get the story say the man never dead and him come out of a grave and some woman see him and them hear him set things up on the cross and a whole heap of mythology create around this event that nobody has any evidence of. The man died and put on a cross on Friday, and by Sunday them take him down and call it 3 days. And no evidence of death certificate, no test of a man being dead. We don't know whether the man was unconscious. There's no evidence. No historical evidence of nails killing a man in 24 hours or 48 hours. So as a scientist, I'm not only learn to know fables. We see man go into coma for months, years, and come out of the coma. So we don't know how you can convince me some man dead because you put 2 nails in them on them foot. There's no evidence of death. So means one of the man who not into that story about no man dying and going into the grave and coming out and going up in the sky. You know? I'm not into that. But for those who want to join that story, it's like joining the story of the cow jumping over the moon. Fiction, fable. Rastaman now in reading that same book and having his Afrocentric perspective, start having problems with the Jesus thing. Enough problems. Because holding on to black identity and African identity make it difficult now to see your salvation in a European. The same European who bring you into chattel slavery. The God that them teach you about now, we tell you now that him going to send a son that look like the owner of the slaves. And you must ignore how him look because God sent him. So God couldn't send a different looking character. Him couldn't send a Chinese looking man. Him couldn't send an Indian looking. Why am I send a man who Michelangelo paint to look like a white man? The Rastaman had problem with that from day one. We can remember, all of us get the same Bible, Them get all of it the same force feed Bible. And because Rastafari started read the Bible with an intention of claiming an identity that is not British and not Jamaican, but African. It forced the mind to look for a salvation and a savior out of your own being. The Rastaman read in the book said the same God of creation made man in image and likeness of that God of creation. So when I start examining now this Jesus story, and then we see some pictures of the Jesus, some blue eye and long hair and business and pale skin, instinctively rejected, automatic rejection that the Baka could look like that and that be our salvation. So the Bible again is where man go read because at that book them give away, Nothing we never know for read nothing else except Bible, It just where they with Dr. Ben Buchanan and Henry Clark, and we're getting literature now from black scholars who have done their own research and have come up with a reality that we realize now that the Jesus image was a painting by a European painter. And then the Christians now, the Negro Christians now, who are ignoring and denying them African identity, tell you it don't matter. It don't matter whether Jesus was white or black. It doesn't matter because them say him is the Son of God. Well, the Rastafari said matter. That the God that the Rastafari know and was worshipping would not send an alien looking salvation. No way. That is contradictory to thought. So when the Rastaman started read the same Bible and started read Old Testament, just like everybody, and reading the laws, we come upon a law that talk about the Nazarenes. And that Samson was a Nazarite. And Samson was a man of God who was a laxman, because Samson never cut no hair and never trim him face. So Rastaman started embrace the concept of the Nazarite and the closeness that the Nazarite had with the concept of the God. The Jesus comes now and is also from Nazareth and is a Nazarite. And Rastaman said, well, him too must be of the same nature, where him don't cut him here. No, because of the region where the stories are being projected, the Jesus is not a European. So the Jesus don't have European here. And if you don't cut natural black man here, it's going to nuts up automatically because of the magnetic properties in the hair. We have keratin in a black man, have keratin in them here. So is the Jesus born and grow in the region that we are told, and run away with his parents to live in Africa for 18 years and then return at age 30? Then the Rastaman, in his own knowledge of geography and climate and history, begin to put African features now to the Jesus. And the Bible who suggests that Jesus was a Nazarene mean Jesus was a lax man. So why does the Rastaman get a fight? Because him grow lax. Him looking more like the Jesus than the Christian. God, most Christians have bald. Most Christians shine off them head. And yet, the image that them worship and respect have lacks. Confusion to the highest level out of that same one book. So Rastaman have come and have Africanized the image of Jesus. And the Negro Christians are in rebellion to that, because they are happy with a white image of a Jesus, because they want to be washed as white as snow. That is their meditation. The Christians who are Negroes, if only they would practice brotherhood and some of the teachings that we get from the biblical Jesus, we wouldn't have incidents like what happened between the pastor and the entertainer. So we have to revisit and recheck these images that we have been holding on to, and some of them we have to let go. The critical one that we have to let go is the dependency. The dependency on this concept of a savior. Because salvation comes through consciousness. And you have to save thyself first. It's the first law of nature. Self-preservation. Save thyself. Metamorphosis.
Conquering Lion of Judah. Yeah. Oh Lord, Jah come now, Rastafari. Send your kingdom come now. Yeah, Lord. Jah come now. The conquering Lion is here to break every chain. King the land, the earth that shake. Oh gosh, the conquering Lion is here basic needs for them to stay alive makes it so critical. See, good Father, come down and pour out your heart. Have mercy on the weak in spirit and the poor in heart. Deliver them quick before them get caught in false rituals. Ooh-wee. Draw not your face from them in ignorance, soldier. With them you made a covenant, deliverance, soldier. Oh yes, your kingdom come down. Hey yo, people, a lot of questions to ask, a lot of questions to answer. You see what I'm saying? Oh yes, it's crazy out there. Oh God, kids having babies out there. Oh God, tell me if you're feeling no gravity in this impoverished society. Double standard without no equity. Repercussions in a triple tragedy now. So I want you tell me how you're living. I want the people tell me how you're living it now. People tell me how you're living. And tell me if you're happy how you're living it now. Whoa, ain't no betterment under this. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Give praise to Rastafari. And all praises unto Jah. Give praise to Rastafari. And all praises unto Jah. So many days, so many nights, I faced this rugged life. With through some fights, just to get a bite. My friends and my environment sometimes may do me wrong. But by my faith, I keep holding on. So I give praise to Rastafari. And all praises unto Jah. Give praise to Rastafari. And all praises unto Jah. The youth today are so confused, they don't know what to do. They passing by for what they think is right. Life for them seems so hard, they don't know where to turn. With lessons that they need to learn. Give praise to Rastafari.
Yes, I giving thanks and praises for the opportunity to be at Styles FM. Another metamorphosis coming to a close. Give thanks for ones and ones who have been listening, both locally and outside the country, on whatever device you use. We see the importance of science and technology. These things are not generated by belief. We don't drive a car on belief. The car is driven on a certain amount of scientific knowledge. And so we're saying to the black people in the world, we must begin to move towards scientific knowledge and less of beliefs and superstitions. And that book that we call the good book is a book of confusion and a book of that promotes superstition, doubt and fear. Book of war. And until we free ourselves from those type of books and begin to get more acclimatized, so books that were generated along the River Nile, the culture of the River Nile. So we hear about the good book, and then it suggests that there is also an evil book. Because if God have a good book, then you think that Satan must have an evil book. Well, the Europeans set it up that way, you know. Him call the Bible the good book, and him call our book now the book of the dead. Yeah, him call the book that black people must gravitate and have in them house. Him call it the book of the dead. So none of we not go on that, you know. The book of coming forth by day and night. That is our scripture that speaks to the gods and the goddesses and the pantheon of gods that manifest itself through the universe. But instead of that as our framework, we're locked up into the Christian box. And in that Christian box, you have two forces, one named God and one named devil. And they always at each other's throat, but none can defeat the other. It's a crazy box to be locked into. And the greatest fear is not about the devil, it's about God, because God has created the most destruction in that box. From the beginning to the end, it's a book of destruction. And you wonder why black people are so destructive, because we're under something called a blood. Under the blood, we are being driven by blood, and blood is a cannibal vibration. So how can we have a country that is being powered by the blood of Jesus? It's death and destruction on the country. And you look around the world where these religions are dominant, it's poverty that rule the place. So politicians now are men who understand these things and hide behind the religion and scam the people. Because they can always promise and promise and promise. And they know that two of you share the same promise. The promise about the Lord. So all of them is the same. The politicians and the preachers. Because when the politicians are under pressure, them tell us that divine intervention will relieve the situation. True wisdom will come from above. They know they don't have the answers in their brain, so they project it up into the sky. Well, Africans didn't build the pyramids and set up our culture out of looking in the sky. We look into ourselves for knowledge. We look into nature. And we mastered physics and mathematics and the chemistries and the sciences, engineering. That's what we have to reclaim. And let go the superstition. And let go the inordinate fear. And this desire to get into this area of space where there's limited amount of spaces available and black people fighting to go and live up into the sky. Look here, man. 3 astronauts just come from the International Space Station. They just spent 5 months there. An American, a Russian, and a Japanese. There are no African people in making that journey. So anybody who wants to travel in space without vessels and vehicles are insane people. I'm Black said that. Metamorphosis.
Now living in a Babylon ain't easy. Said living in a Babylon ain't easy. No way. Temptation on my right and evil on my left. I'll stand up and fight. Oh yeah now. Sadama Sagana. In a positive way. Sadama Sagana. In a positive way. I've got to pray to Jah to have some mercy. To keep me safe and guide me to travel on my way. Temptation is so strong, but I must fight it. I'll stand up and fight.
And again, I want to remind my listeners that if you come on my Facebook page on Thursday from 7 to 9, that's at Doc Iman Black, you get a good 2 hours continuous reasoning as we approach the World Cup in Russia. Series called To Russia with Love. So from 7 to 9, and if you can't find the time to be there, you can also check me on my website at www.imanblack.com, imanblak.com, and you can go onto the section that says podcasts, and you can hear the broadcasts of these issues that I speak to about sports. So, it's really that again for another metamorphosis. I have to give thanks for my engineer Cassidy, who's quite efficient in his silence. And of course, Jacko and the forces at Styles FM. People of Port Antonio, so you give thanks that you are present and listening. East Portland, West Portland, St. Thomas, East and West, St. Mary, East and West, St. Anne's, East and West, and all other parishes, East, West, North and South. So you give thanks for the opportunity to speak to the item. And for those who are off the planet, off the island, all the bridges on the African continent, in Kenya and in Nairobi and in Zimbabwe, we say all people on the African continent, Black Power. All the ones in North America, Central America, say Black Power. Australia down under, and the rest of the Europe and other places. And close at home in the Caribbean, we say give thanks that we have these various mediums and we can exchange thoughts and we can think. And the idea is to think freely and be respectful of others and their thinking, knowing that free will is not as free as we may imagine it to be. Because if you surrender your will to a master, then you're not free. So the servant and the master, the servant and the slave, both have masters. And so the people who are following the Jesus are still slaves. Slavery is slavery, no matter what shape or form it may appear. And I is in complete rebellion and resistance to slavery. So, you can call yourself a servant. You can even call yourself a civil servant. You're no different from the slave. You are a glorified slave. You're a noble slave. But you still have the master. And as long as you have the master doesn't look like you, and the master is an alien force, you're a slave. So make a shake off slavery, shake off the Jesus, shake off the Muhammad, and begin to embrace the divinity that is the I. Peace. Rastafari.
Eternally, it's the voice that sets me free.